Listen to this episode if you are feeling the pressure of being a founder-facing brand, but you are unsure if it's actually necessary to be successful within your product-based business. I hear you here. I know that this is a really hot topic right now on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere. It really is, with everybody talking about what's popular in 2026, what's necessary here, what's necessary there. Today, we are going to end this conversation once and for all. Is it necessary? Is it not? What are the nuances? What are the pros? What are the cons? What are the best strategies? And at the end of the day, I'm basically going to give you my true feelings from working with hundreds of brands of what is actually necessary in 2026. If you stay to the end, you should have a pretty good answer of what you in your business should be doing within having you as the face of the brand. This was actually a question that was submitted by one of you inside of our Founders Cafe, which is my free podcast community where you can ask me questions and you can connect with other business owners. And it's just this community of people. You get extra resources, free coaching calls, things like that. They basically said, let me read it word for word because I know that it's a good one. Is it necessary for me to be a founder-facing brand to grow? I never wanted to be an influencer. I really hate being on camera. Do I have to do it? Please say no. And again, I relate to you here. This is not something that I ever thought that I would do in my life. I just want to put that out there. Like, I wasn't born starting this business being like, yes, this means I can plaster my face all over the internet. I hear where you're coming from here. I understand that it's not something that comes incredibly naturally to everybody, that it's not something you set out to do when you're like, I just wanted to make a cool product. But we're going to talk about this today. Again, I'm going to talk about my nuanced answer, but by the end of this, you should have a really good idea of if it is something that I recommend or not. First things first, I just want to take 10 quick seconds to say hello. My name is Madison Page. I'm the host of the Business Growth Podcast. I am a business growth specialist and I help product-based business owners become the next household name in their industry. While we talk today, we really can look at some of the most disruptive brands of 2025 and see that many of them have a founder-facing element to their brands. Now, this doesn't mean that they're influencers. It doesn't mean that they have a separate account to be a personal brand. This means that they had some sort of founder-facing element. Honestly, I have podcast episodes talking about this dating back to 2020 when I started the podcast, of people talking about, do I need to be the face of my brand? It is inching more towards more of these brands are caring about this. Even my larger brands that have, $1 million, $10 million, $50 million in sales are also having this conversation. Is this something that I need to prioritize? Is this something that I need to do in order to continue to build my business and for me to build inside of my career? So first things first that I really want to say is I'm going to kind of just riff on this conversation. If you were on a coaching call with me and you said, Maddie, do I need to show my face? Is this something that is actually necessary? It's something that I have been getting asked a lot in these last couple of weeks. My answer to you is no. You don't need to show your face in order for your business to be successful. You do not need or require a founder-facing brand. But, and this is where the nuance comes in, but there really is no downside to it. And I want to dive into what it can really gain for you when it isn't absolutely necessary and help you kind of make a decision throughout this episode. So make sure that you kind of stay to the end because it really is a nuanced episode that we're going to talk about today. So when we really talk about this, coming from, do I need this founder facing? The answer is no, but there really is no downside. Too long. TLDR, that's the answer to it. When we look at this, a founder-facing brand, and we look at what we talk about in the 2026 Consumer Necessities podcast episode that we released a couple of weeks back. When we look at that, the consumer in 2026 wants connection. They want to care about the value. They want to care about the story. They want to care about the mission. Who is better to build connection, to build, relatability to the brand than the founder? The founder just has this superpower. There is no downside, but it really is just a superpower. To give you a quick story is when I started my business, my product-based business back in the day. It was probably 2016, 2017, I started a blog on Instagram. And that's why it's blurry because I was blogging and then I started selling products alongside of it. And I basically was mortified for anybody that I knew to see me on Instagram trying to build this blog. I didn't show my face. And if you know anything about my story, the first year of my blog trying to sell products did not go very well because I'm like, why the heck is nobody buying this? Like, I'm doing all the things, I'm educating, I have the website, I have all of this like information out there. Why is nobody buying? When I first started, I'm like, okay, fine. Nobody bought this holiday season from me, in 2016, or I think it was 17. Nobody bought the holiday season of 2017. I am going to dive into figuring out why I need to do this. Everything pointed back to connection, community, relationships. So I said, okay, you can't do that without knowing me. You can't do that without knowing who I am and a little bit about my life. I look at my favorite influencers, and this was pre-influencer. This was blogger days. And that's why I called myself, I was a blogger. And I started it that way. And when I started to incrementally add my face into videos, it would be a photo here and there. It was a little bit about me, a little bit about my story, a little bit about what I did. My sales started to trickle in. My engagement started to climb and my business started to build. Again, this was nearly a decade ago, which is a crazy thing to come out of my mouth. This was nearly a decade ago. And this was already something that was helping and working. Since then, we have had this dawn of the age of community building necessity. When I was teaching and coaching back then, a couple years later, when I started coaching people how to do this, I was calling it relationship marketing because that is what it is. Now it's community building marketing. Same principles, different name, different level of intensity. Now, last year, we were still talking a lot about community. We were, of course, talking about founder-facing brands. But in 2026, with the consumer that is out there, we need to have some sort of major connection piece to our business in order to really disrupt, in order to really grow, in order to feel connection to the community that we have. So there is no downside to showing your face because you coming forward is going to do that and be this little superpower. If you don't want to do it, you either need to find a face of the brand that is okay with it, or we need to work harder on the brand story, on the brand mission, and make sure that your messaging is rock solid. If you don't want to be the face of the brand, that's okay. But there has to still be people and human elements behind your marketing. So what is necessary here is the human, is the story, is the mission, is the connection that the consumer can feel when they come in contact with your brand. It's not necessarily you. You just bring a unique superpower because you are the person telling the story. It's kind of like when you're sitting down with a friend at a dinner party and they're talking and they're like, my friend told me this crazy story the other day. And then they tell you this crazy story and you're like, okay, yeah, that was a crazy story. Absolutely wild. But like, I don't know you. I don't know the person that you were saying that about. So it doesn't like hit home as much as if your friend sat down and was like, imagine what happened to me this week. This is what happened to me. You're ready to like ride at dawn for whatever happened. But because it was their friend, it's kind of a little too distant for you to really care, right? Like, yes, you're still like, wow, that was crazy. But also, why do I care? Because I'm not connected to them. Same thing as the founder. When it's an employee, they're like, great, love it. When it's just a little bit more generalized, this is our brand. These are some spokespeople for our brand. Yes, I can totally understand that. Yes, it's cool. I like that. I like what they stand for. But the minute there is the person that said, this is my story, my son had this problem, so I decided to build this brand, they're riding at dawn because they can see you and they're connecting with you and they're relating to you as the founder. That is the superpower that a founder-facing brand really has. People are seeking people behind a brand, not AI, not drop shippers, not major corporation vibes. People are seeking this people first style of business. If we really look at some of the breakout brands of 2025, go and look at the Forbes 30 under 30 from the business list. Almost all of those founders have a founder facing brand because yes, that's how they got on Forbes 30 under 30, but it's because their brand broke out this year. When we look at, the Hot Girl Pickles people, we look at many brands that are all of a sudden in all of these major retailers, they're really like breaking into next barriers. It's because they also built a personal brand. The best part about this is that the content that is actually working, at least right now, for these founders, it doesn't have to be overly curated. It doesn't have to be overly cohesive. So something that we want to think about is that this doesn't mean that your entire marketing strategy has to be about you and like what you had for dinner and that you had a bellyache last week. That's not what we're talking about here. When we talk about having to be a founder-facing brand, it means that one of your content pillars is you. speaking about something. It can be about the mission, about your story, about your product, education. That just means that one of your content pieces, one of your pillars of content, I teach 7 types of content, and there's 4 major pillars that we're putting onto your Instagram feed. Of those 4, one is putting your face out there. It's just one media type. It doesn't even need to be a whole pillar. It's just that people need to be able to see you. So this doesn't mean that I need you to create a video every day. It doesn't mean I need you to really create a video every week. It just means that we need to add one pillar of the marketing strategically that does have your face in it. Again, the best part here is that the content that's working is actually very organic and very natural. It doesn't mean that you need a full setup. Like, I'm looking at 2 lights, 3 cameras currently, a microphone. I got a lot of tech in front of me right now. This is not actually the content that is performing well on Instagram. What's performing well on Instagram is you just propping your phone up with some good lighting of normal daylight outside, and you just chit-chatting. You might put a little hook on the screen, a couple of little closed captions, and people are looking for real people. They aren't looking for this overly curated, edited mumbo jumbo. That's on Instagram and on TikTok. And Instagram is becoming more and more that way. TikTok's been that way for a while. People want to relate to real people. You don't need to have your hair and your makeup done perfectly every day in order for people to feel connected to you. And so when we're really looking at this, there is no downside. It can take you on the upwards of 3 to 5 minutes to record, maybe 5 minutes to edit max, which is 10 minutes for you to create one of these videos, and your audience is going to resonate with you stronger. I hear the idea that a luxury brand shouldn't be founder facing. People are like, well, I have a luxury brand, so I don't need to do it that way. And that's also not the case. We're seeing this in a lot of ways. Even luxury brands have a face. Even luxury brands are still requiring connection. Of course, there's the anomalies of but Chanel, Coco Chanel was a person. If we go at Louis Vuitton, we can go and we go down this list that they did have faces of the brands. There has never been in the history of ever with businesses a time that there wasn't a face of the brand. And right now it's just becoming founder facing because people want to know who they really are supporting. There was a time that celebrity spokesperson was everything. There was a time that influencer spokesperson was everything. Right now it's everyday people like UGC content as well as founders that is really leading the charge here. And so it doesn't have to be your entire feed, but adding some of it in is going to allow at the very least for you to get this little bit of a superpower that your audience really feels. Some don'ts in this. Don't be stuffy. It's okay to be yourself. Don't feel like the first video is going to be the best. If you go back, listen to my first podcast episode right now, go back, 2020, March of 2020, my first podcast episodes goes live. My episodes didn't sound like this. I didn't sound like this. If you go scroll back on my Instagram, my videos didn't look like this. My videos didn't sound like this. I personally have grown a lot in being able to show up online. You guys are seeing my real personality here. If you meet me in person, this is who I am, right? I spent too much time talking into this microphone to be somebody else at this point. But in the beginning, it was scary. I had my customer service voice on as if I was answering the phone back in the day at my family's business. That is how I felt when I was sitting here. I was very prim and proper. I was kind of soft spoken. I wouldn't show this side of my personality, but it gets old and you get more confident with it over time. And so don't expect your first video to be good. Don't expect your 10th video to be good. Don't expect your first video to get you 100,000 followers. What we're doing here is just adding you in as a pillar within your content. If it's okay, I'm going to interrupt this podcast for 30 quick seconds to let you know about the Founders Cafe. It is my completely free podcast community where you can gain access to bonus resources, gain access to me and free coaching calls, as well as build a network of other business owners just like yourself. Business ownership is a lonely game, and we might as well build community, build a network, and have a space to collaborate. We can bring this conversation and all the other conversations we have on this podcast over into this free podcast community and make this a two-way street. I would love to answer your questions there, connect with you, see you on our next free coaching call. Click the link in the show notes and you'll find the link there. Now, the question lies, is there any business that shouldn't have a founder-facing brand? I don't see a brand that is like, nope, that's absolutely off the table for you, shouldn't be the case at the end of the day. And I'm sorry to say that to some of you. I know that might be heartbreaking, but there are some brands, like, a lot of brands like, well, but I'm the exception. Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about my life. I'm more boring than the rest. None of that holds up in court here today. When we're talking about showing your face, it really is just any brand could benefit. Now, there are some brands that it's just like filtered in. Let's look at Goop with Gwyneth Paltrow. She is the face of the brand, but she is not in every video. She might do a series here and there. She might show up. She talks about the brand. She's still the face. And I think I don't know if she's a CEO, but she still is very active within the brand. There's many of these that they are the face because, of course, she's a celebrity, but she is still involved. She doesn't have to be in every video. Every video isn't about her. She doesn't need to talk about her kids in every video. It can be very business focused. You can stay focused on the product. And I would say if you're a more luxury brand, the more product focused your founder facing element should be. It can be around your product or your industry. If you are a very lifestyle brand, you're very trendy, you then as a founder, you don't have to, but you can get a little bit more just lifestyle influencery if you really want to. It can just be, what is the life that my customer would want to emulate? And I am living that right now. Let me show some of that lifestyle. So the more luxury of a brand you have, I think the more branded, the more product focused this content should be. And then the less luxury, the more lifestyle, more everyday, more mainstream, you can get a little bit more influencery with your founder facing content. It doesn't need to be that way, but that is kind of a little bit of a nuance here that we can cover. At the end of the day, if you are not the face of your brand, you just need to find a way to still get that connection and that mission in. It is not absolutely necessary. I have plenty of clients that tell me, absolutely not, I'm not doing that. And then we say, fine, let's figure out the messaging and the content pillar that is replacing it. If you don't want to be a founder-facing side of your brand, that's fine. But what that means is that we just have to find the replacement for it. What it also means, again, is that you can identify the boundaries of what you're talking about. You can say, I'm only talking about business, but from my face, my mouth. I'm only going to sit down and talk about my business. I'm not going to talk about all of these other things and my favorite products and what I had for dinner. That's fine. As long as your face is there and that people can relate to you. Again, people just need to know who you are and really see you in it. So don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't mean that you need to become an influencer. It doesn't mean that you need to have another profile. All it means is that you need to be present in the marketing to the sense of people can see you, people can relate to you, and that they can see your story overall. So at this point, I have a couple of questions for you. Why are you not wanting to be the face of the brand? And what is that answer in your head right now? Why don't you want to be it? What is the first thing that comes to mind? I want you to do this with me like a guided exercise. Truly, let's dive deep into this. Why don't you want to be the face of your brand? Is it that you feel boring? Is it that you feel old? Is it that you feel like, what are your people going to say? What is that root cause? Because some of my people are like, oh, I don't care about my face on video, but I care that all these people that I know see it. I hear you. That's why I created a new profile when I built a personal brand. I have a personal side and I have a professional side, and that's great. So I put my professional on one profile. That's fine. I understand that. At this point, I don't care. At first, it's all going to have these what ifs, and then eventually your confidence builds and it doesn't really matter anymore. So why are you not right now? Is it that it's scary? Is it that you don't have the time? Is it that you have to shower? Is it that you have to put makeup on? And what if I told you that it was actually simpler than what you are thinking right now? What if, yes, you might have to shower and look presentable every once in a while. You don't have to look perfect. You don't look like a supermodel, but we want to be a good representation of the brand to some regard. I'm showing up. I didn't shower today as somebody sitting here, but I have curly hair, right? My hair looks terrible after 12 hours. And so this is what we're dealing with today. I'm in a t-shirt and jeans, right? And some slippers. That's all you get from me. I'm not here looking like a supermodel every day. But, we look put together. We have the whole studio. We do have some of that. We do want it to look, whatever. You get the gist. Why are you not? What are the excuses that you're telling yourself? And what if I told you it's simpler than what you think? And then I want you to think, is your business growth worth those fears that you have, those excuses that you have, those, what ifs and those insecurities that are popping up? Is your dream life worth it? Looking at that 2026 plan, is your dream life worth it by saying, I don't want to put my face on camera? Is endless opportunities worth it? I have clients that have 200,000 followers on Instagram. I have clients that have hundreds of thousands of followers. And they truly know that at their fingertips, they have any opportunity that they could truly want as long as they work for it because they have a following. And that can absolutely be the case. Is endless opportunities, your dream life, your dream freedom, your dream business, and that business growth that you have on that 2026 plan, is that worth it for you to not show your face? If you were to give that up, would you be okay saying, I gave it up because I didn't feel like showing my face? That's really what we're saying, because it is a superpower. Again, there are ways that we can build without it. I'm doing it with plenty of brands out there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good idea not to. Like, you absolutely can do it, because all it really is one video every week, maybe every other week, to just put your face and your story out there. The most organic videos are the ones that are performing the best. So what I would like to challenge you today is, as you're listening, if you're still listening to this, I know you're still mulling it over. It's still an opportunity. You're still thinking that it might be a possibility for you. I want you this week to, look cute. First couple of videos, go get a coffee, shower that morning, put a cute little outfit on, put some makeup on, make yourself feel presentable and good. It took me a while to show up without looking presentable and in my PJs sometimes, right? We can start off a little bit curated to then build that comfort. And I want you to sit in your car, whether you leave or not, I don't care. Just go sit in your car, because the lighting, for whatever reason, is great in a car. And I want you to just talk to your phone about your brand, about why you started it, the problem that you're solving, and the product that you actually have. Edit that video to be under, let's say, 1.5 minutes at the very most, if not a minute. Let's try to keep it around 60 seconds. And edit it, put a hook on the screen of why I started X, Y, and Z brand. Put the closed captioning on it and a quick little caption and post it. I want you to do that this week. You can send it to me and I will be the first person in your comments. Please. I would love that. I'll be the first person in your comments. This looks great. Send it to me at This Is Madison page in the DMs. I will comment on that video if that is what you're worried about, is that nobody's going to care. I bet if I were a betting woman, this will be one of the most liked videos. This will be one of the most commented videos. And this will get probably some of the most views of any content that you post. Why this is because people like to support people. People feel more connected to people than they do a product photo. Now, if it's not, that doesn't mean that people hate you and that to never do it again. It might just mean that that video just didn't work. But that is my action item for you this week. You don't have to instill this super high-tech studio and all of this stuff right off the bat and to have this series go. You can go and sit in your car, because usually it's pretty good lighting. You don't have to worry about your house or anything in the background. All you have to do, sit in your car, face it at yourself, and talk to the camera. Make sure there's quality lighting. That's all. That's why you sit in the car, because there's great daylight usually. And right now the sun is never out, but you get the gist. At least it's a little bit of daylight out there. And just talk to the camera about the story, why we created it, what the problem is. What was the process of you starting this business? Why did you start it? Everybody has a story of some kind. And let's just start with that. This doesn't have to be that difficult. It can be that easy. It'll take you 10 to 15 minutes max for you to get that video. And 10 to 15 minutes out of your day is such a small fraction for the benefits that you will see. You will see greater engagement. You will see greater return customers. You will see greater retention rate because they feel connected to you. You will see greater reviews, like your review rate is higher because, again, they feel connected to you as the brand. The data is there to show that this is a superpower. Why aren't you using it is really at the end of the day. Now, if you're coming to me and you're saying, Maddie, absolutely not. I'm refuse. I don't want to do it. I like my privacy. That's fine. Again, without a doubt, we can make that happen. But I want you to know, is it fear or is it a no? Is this like an actual barrier of like, no boundary? I'm not doing it. It's just not going to be in the cards for me. And that's fine. But if this is like something that's coming up for you and it's not a no, if this is just new and it's not really fun yet, it's just kind of like, ooh, I don't know. I just have all these like what ifs and these insecurities. It's not an absolute no. I just like don't find myself doing it. I want you to push yourself to do it this week. If this is an absolute barrier, no, there's other ways that we can handle that. We can talk about that in another episode or elsewhere. You just have to make up for it in other ways with your connection and your brand story. So I hope that answers the question. If you want to ask me questions just like this, you can join the Founders Cafe. Whatever question is on your mind, you can ask me inside of that community, and I can record a podcast on that here for you today. This is a conversation that I'm having with my clients all of the time as well. I understand that it's weird. I understand that it's like kind of dystopian that we all just have our face all over the internet all the time. It's weird. It's scary. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of questions, but it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be over and all consuming. So we will absolutely tackle all of those fears together. I want to see that video that you create. I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to be here. I'll post in our community and I want to see it. If you're in my Slack community, just know that you are going to be hounded with understanding, did you post it? Did you not? I want to see this dang video. Okay. I'm going to hold you accountable there. Also, just understand that if you are looking for some business support in 2026, all of our coaching is open enrollment right now. We have a lot of people that are looking to understand the strategies here, understand what their gaps are. They know that they have this creative idea and they know that they're probably making some rookie mistakes and they don't want to do that. I'm here to make sure that you don't make those rookie mistakes and that we are filling all of those gaps that make sense. I'm here to teach you the strategies. I'm here to give you that game plan that you might not know how to do. And so come on over to my Instagram at This Is Madison Page and you can either DM me support. Otherwise, you can click the link there and you can apply or just learn more. And I would love to hear from you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this was helpful for you. Welcome to the Business Growth Podcast. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Growth Podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. So if you love this one, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss a conversation. If you want more conversations with me and other business owners, make sure that you join our completely free podcast community, the Founders Cafe. The link is in the show notes. You can get bonus resources, access to free coaching calls, as well as connect with like-minded business owners like yourself. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast 5 stars, share it with a friend to keep those conversations moving, and come back every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you there.